Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video we're going to accomplish a couple things. First, we're going to add some buttons to our show route, or our show view rather, that allow us to create, edit, and delete comments, just to kind of make our life easier and also to update the UI a little bit. Then we're going to actually add the update and delete routes for our comments. So let's go ahead and add the buttons. This is inside of the views directory. We're going to look at comics.show or _show. That's where it is. And honestly, let's just go ahead and launch it. Oops. CD into Yelp Comics and then no daemon. Let's go ahead and launch it and look at it so we can kind of talk about what we're going to end up doing and what we want to see, how we want it to look. So let's go in here. So basically, what I want this to look like is I'm going to have a couple buttons in here. There's like another column basically to add and delete comments, or edit and delete comments, and then I'm going to have another one somewhere up here that is going to be to add a new comment. So let's go back and look here. So this is going to be down near the bottom, shortly before the comments for each, because this is the header right here. Under the header, I'm going to go ahead and just put some space, and I'm going to add the button to add a new comment. So let's just go ahead and make this an A tag. href equals, and we'll come back to this in a minute. And inside of that, we're going to put a button where the class is equal to btn, and this is just a bootstrap thing, and then btn, I'm going to do success because that'll make it a green button. Btn large, and then I'm going to add a little bit of margin on the bottom, and then we're going to make that button say add comment. Let me get rid of this extra space that Gorm adds. So let's save that. So let's just refresh this page. So let's see, we're having a problem. Comic image link of null. Why is it not accessing it? Because I'm a dum-dum. Because it was the, I forgot to go back to the comics page and get the updated ID of that comment. There we go. Add comment right there. Nothing special. And we'll make it pretty later, but that's where it is for now. And then right now, if we look at what's happening for our comments, we basically got a row div, and then inside of there we have two columns. The first column is using 3/12. The next column is using 9 of those 12ths. We're going to divide this a little bit more, and we're going to add a third column to hold the buttons. So div, and up here, class equals going to be a column 2, which means we're also going to make this one a column 2 and this one a column 8. So let's save that, just kind of see what it looks like. It's not really going to change much, just move that over some. But we're getting there. Inside of this column, let's go ahead and add an edit button. And this time, just to show you that you can do this, up here we used an A tag with a button inside of it. I'm just going to show you that you can, if you want, just use an A tag. A class equals btn, btn sm for small, btn success, because it's going to make it green. And I'm going to use Bootstrap's kind of sizing helpers, so width of 75, and then padding of 0, and then margin in the y-axis of 1. And right now the href can just go to nowhere, and we'll just make this say edit. So let's save it and see what that looks like. There we go, it's a little bit smaller. You see that's what that btn sm does, button small. And the 75% makes it take up 75% of this column. If I toggle on my CSS debug, you can see that it's taking up about 75% of this column, and you can see the columns right there. And if you are interested in how I did that CSS debug, I will make a video and put it in the miscellaneous videos, because that's a very little helpful tool. I did not make this. I got to track down who did and give them credit, but I'll make sure to do that in the video because it's a really cool little function. So that is one way that you can do that, and it's how I'm going to leave this. I'll have to come back and fix the href in a second, but that's how it's going to be for now. So the other thing in here is going to be a button that is our delete button. Now if you remember, in order to delete something, we're going to send a delete request, and in order to send a delete request, we actually have to send a post request that we're modifying with method override. Now the only way to send a post request is with a form. You can't send that, or the only way in HTML is to send that in a form. You can't send it with an A tag, so we have to actually put a form in here. So form, and this is where our class width of 75, margin y of 1 is going to be action We'll get that in a second. Or action equals method equals, we know this is going to be post, so we can go ahead and put that down. And inside of there, we're just going to have a button class equals btn, btn sm for small, btn danger, because it's going to be deleting things, width of 100, and padding of 0. And this button will just say delete. Now, the reason I did width 100 here and width 75 here is because I want this to take up 100% of its parent. Its parent is set to 75. The form is 75. The button is set to 100 of that 75. So these will be pretty much equal when you have the padding set to 0. That's why. So let's come over here and refresh this page, see what it looks like. There we go. That's getting better. It's getting closer. It's not exactly where we want it, but it's getting there. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a border. I'm going to add a border around each of these comments. So let's just add border, and that is again a bootstrap thing. Refresh. Now we have a little bit of a border. It's a little hard to see this way down at the bottom, so I'm going to add some space underneath it, underneath everything basically, right before the end. So after our for each in the that's tiling all of our comments, I'm going to add a div class equals padding y of 5. And that's all it's going to be. It's just going to be a div that has some padding. So let's save and refresh. Now I've got a little bit of extra space down here. I just like that. This makes it look a little bit better and act a little bit better in my opinion. All right, next thing I want to do, because if you'll see here we've got a border around the whole thing, but I would like to have some borders kind of in the middle of these type things. So we're going to come into the, let's see, the comment one, and we're going to set a border right. And we're going to do the same thing in this one, border right. Let's save and refresh, see what it looks like. Now we've got those little dividers in there separating our columns. Next thing I'm going to do is take this comment here, right here. Right now it's squished up in the top and I want it to be centered. So let's do, I think this is going to be my auto if I remember correctly. Let's refresh. Yep, so that pushes it down so that's in the middle of this row. So it'll always be in the center. We're going to do the same thing right here to the buttons. So we're going to do margin Y of auto. And then we're going to do something weird. We're going to actually turn this into a flex container. Deflex, flex wrap, and justify content center. This way, this stuff will be centered, and this is now a flexbox. Using, if you remember flexbox from our CSS stuff, the bootstrap that turns this thing into a flexbox. So that way these buttons are centered, which looks a little bit better, I think. And I'm going to do the same thing here, my auto, and that's margin Y of auto, and it'll just move that down over here. So I'm happy with the way that looks. I need to put some space up here actually. So on the, let's see, what am I going to put that? I'm going to put that on the A tag around the button, I think. Like I said, I am not the best at, oh, it's because I put a dash here. I thought I had fixed that. Okay, there we go. That should do it. Nope, of course that doesn't do it. That'd be too easy. Let's do a hard refresh and make sure, yep, it was because it was being cached. Margin bottom of 4. There we go. And actually, let's go ahead and put and just make that a margin Y of 4. See what that looks like. It's okay. I kind of like that. Maybe margin bottom of 4 and margin top of 2. So it looks a little off-centered. Maybe margin top of 3. There we go. That looks nice and centered. Okay, so I'm happy with this look. It's perfectly fine. It's obviously not the most beautiful website in the world, but I'm not a front-end designer, so I'm cool with it. Next step is we have to actually add the links, make these links work, because we added the buttons, but the buttons don't actually do anything right now. We can click on it all we want, and it will do nothing. So let's find the buttons. Where did I put the buttons? Here is the add comment button. Right now it's the href goes nowhere. So we need this to go to /, oops, /comics / and this is going to be the comic ID, %equals comic._ID, close that, /comments /new. Remember, that's the route to create a new comment. So let's refresh the page and see if it works. Unexpected token. What did I do wrong? Oops, _ID. Save, refresh. Let's go here and make sure we got all that mess. Add comment. There we go. So we can test it, and this should work fine. Now we have 2 comments. Do I like those squished together like that? I think I do. I think that's fine. I might have put a little bit of space, but actually I think that's fine. I like it. So I've got that one sorted. The next one is, let's find it right here, is the edit button. So the href right here is going to be /comics /% = comic._id, and then /comments, and then /% = comment.id. And close that. Then we have to do /edit. Now this is a big old long href. But let's look at it real quick to make sure we understand, because where this button is right here. It's this edit button right here, and each comment is going to have a different one. So what's happening is we're passing in the comments as an array, and then for each comment, we're rendering this chunk, passing in the information as comment. So this comic ID is coming from the actual comic that we're showing on, but this comment is coming from this function right here, and it is going to be different for each comment that is passed in. So like, for example, right here, this one is going to be different than this one. So what we're doing is going to comments / the ID of the comic, and then comments / the ID of the comic, and then the edit. So let's save and refresh and see if this works. Cannot get. Have I just not made that route yet? I don't think I've made that route yet. Let me double check. It's sometimes hard because I plan these things ahead of time, and I build the whole thing ahead of time, and I sometimes forget what routes I have made in this video and not. So we got a new, we got to create, and that's it. So it's just because we haven't created the route yet. So that's fine. We'll test that in a bit. The next one is this delete function right here. This one is going to end up going to /comics /comic._id /comments /% = comment._id. Close that out. And then this is where we're going to have to override the method. It's not going to be a post. It's going to be a delete. So $_method = delete. So let's save that as well. Go back, refresh our page. If I click delete, this isn't going to work, but we know we hit the right route. Can't delete, so that worked. Comics, ID, comments, ID, and that's what we're going to use. So our buttons are working. Our routes aren't there yet, but we've got our buttons set up like we want. We got the add comment, that is fully working, and these two, the buttons are working, we just haven't made the routes yet. I'm going to go ahead and cut this video, and in the next one, we will build the routes. I had planned to do this all in one, but it's getting kind of long, so I want to go ahead and just split it. In this video, we updated our comics show page to include a lot more UI things to make it a little bit prettier down here at the bottom. We also included these buttons. We added the add comment button, and then we added the edit and delete buttons that go for each comment. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help. Thanks.